Hey, welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I am here with my good buddy Jeff Lightsey Jr., who is a brilliant journalist and a great guy. And we're talking about this situation with Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe, he got $100 million in a payday, apparently, but he also got $50 million worth of allegations at the same time. And so we're going to kind of break some of this down for you today. And first, I want to ask Jeff, how you doing today, man?
Doing good, Doc. How about yourself? Thanks for always having me, as always.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad you're here. So did you hear about what happened with Shannon and the accusations and all that?
Yes, I have been following along with the case with Shannon Sharpe really closely, actually. I've actually been following it pretty closely.
So really closely. Now what? Now why so closely?
Just because the timing of it is super, I find super interesting and not by happenstance, right? Like it's
Mhm.
something that we've seen a lot. Like this is something we've seen a lot with the Black celebrity, especially the ultra wealthy Black celebrity in recent times. And so it's just like the latest case. And then Shannon, he's taking the Jay-Z approach, meaning like Jay-Z attacked this, fire with fire, right? Like he got on offense and not defense. Like
Mhm.
Jay-Z was not defensive about these allegations levied against him, and he went on attack mode. And it looks as if Shannon is taking that same page. It's like, no, I'm not just going to sit and be a lying duck and allow you to, take everything that I've worked for. So I'm gonna be on offense, and that's why I've been following it so closely.
Interesting. Okay, so let me ask you this. So in case people don't know, and I'm gonna ask Jeff a question related to this. Shannon was accused of sexually assaulting a woman years ago, and apparently this happened right when he was about to sign a major contract, which, surprise, surprise, is big civil lawsuit, $50 million. And everybody is listening. Let us know if you heard about this and what you think. And so I'd be curious, Jeff, have you seen any indicator that there's any evidence that Shannon committed any of these crimes that he's been accused of?
No, there's zero evidence. And just to kind of give the full context, there's a woman that she's being represented by Tony Busby. And if you don't know who
Yeah.
Tony Busby is the same lawyer who represented every woman who had civil suits against Deshaun Watson. Every single woman that had, it was over almost 30 women, he represented every single one. He is the same person that that put up a hotline for the alleged Diddy accusers. So he was representing all the women who were accusing Puff of sexual assault and rape and different things. And he is also the same person who was representing the woman who not only was going after Puff, but was actually going after Jay-Z. He represented her as well, which ended up getting thrown out because there was a lot of foolishness along with that, like as in the girl wasn't even in New York City when it happened. Jay-Z wasn't at the places they tried to claim that he was at, so on and so forth. A lot of baseless cases. He is kind of like the go-to guy for these baseless cases to get a quick payday. So that's just to kind of give you the background info on Tony Busby and this lady that they referred to as Jane Doe, but Shannon has actually put her name out. Right, like he's like, yeah, we're gonna, y'all trying to hide her under the guise of Jane Doe. No, we're just gonna we're gonna lay out the facts. And so Shannon allegedly was involved with this woman consensually, according to him, for a while. Right, like they were involved, sexually, consensually, according to him, for a while. And apparently, according to what Shannon and his attorneys are putting out, the lady that they're referring to in all of this got upset when Shannon went on live and sounded like he was having sex on Instagram Live. All right. She heard that because that was a national story that went everywhere. And
Mhm.
obviously she knew it wasn't her. So she allegedly, according to Shannon and his attorneys, got upset about that. And then she started to make veiled threats about how, you know, like you need to treat me better. That's not right. You essentially embarrassing me because of what took place in front of the whole world. And Shannon's like, we're not together, whatever. And so then obviously, to your point, Shannon has a podcast, Club Shay Shay, Nightcap. Like he has a podcast network, and he's doing a great on there. Like they're getting 10 to 20, sometimes 30, 40,000 people watching concurrently, like all at the same time on his Nightcap. Obviously, his Club Shay Shay interviews have taken over the world, from Cat Williams to the Wayans to Monique, Steve Harvey, you name it. They've all been on Club Shay Shay. So that he's got a media empire right now. And then he's on First Take 2 days a week, which is the most popular sports show. So he's got a media empire. And his deal with The Volume, which is owned by Colin Cowherd, had just ran up, all at the time where he's like at his hottest, right? Like he's hot as fish grease. And that's where the $100 million payday comes into mind, because you're looking at the rest of the sports media landscape, and there's guys out there who don't do the numbers that Shannon does. They got $100 million. So $100 million like the baseline, but it could be higher than that, because he is just on fire right now, in every medium, whether it's on cable, on the internet. He's just killing it. And so that 100 million, like I said, is just literally the bottom. That we're starting at 100 million, we're going up. And that had just got released to the public, I think either Thursday or Friday, that his deal was expired and that he was looking to re-up. And then this comes out like the very next day, right? Like, so if that came out on Thursday, this came out on Friday. If that came out on Friday, this came out on Saturday. And today, like I said, Shannon, he's fighting fire with fire. He's like, no, I'm not going out, just sitting on my hands and going out quietly. And he published, via his attorneys, he published, once again, he published the lady's name, and he published text messages from the lady describing their encounters, and that in itself is insane. It is insane.
Didn't one of the messages say something like where she asked him to put a dog collar on her or something like that? I saw something involved
I'll read
a dog collar.
Yeah, I'll read from you. This is from Shannon Sharpe via his attorney, Lanny J. Davis. So this is all according to them. The first quote, like literally, you know how a statement from a lawyer is typically a lot of politically correct. No, the first thing that you see on this statement is a quote from the alleged victim. Her name is Gabriella Zuniga. So Gabriella Zungaya. The quote says, quote, "I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're effing me." It's the very first quote from this alleged victim to Shannon Sharpe. But Doc, it gets a lot crazier, because they put in, these are quotes via text messages that Shannon received from the alleged victim. Another quote, "I know you missed this big juicy bleep, $25K for each cheek." Another quote from it. It's
is he having sex with a hooker? Like, what the hell is $25K for each cheek? What does $25K got to do with our relationship? That's the question I'm trying to figure out.
These quotes get even crazier. So one says, this was the one that I think is catching the most people. It says, quote, "You better crave it, because you're gonna be stuck with it for life after you put a big black baby in me." Another quote, "That's my daddy F. I want you to put a big black baby in me." And that's from August 6, 2024. So these are like recent messages. Like these messages are all between the years 2023 and 2025. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I mean, it's hilarious, because we know the hustle. We know how the game works, right? And I hate saying it like that. I mean, and this is the part that really bothers me, is that there are people out there that really have bad things that happen to them. There really are. But I can tell you that from the very beginning, there was nobody. I didn't see a single person that believed what she was saying. You know, especially when it was mentioned that they had a relationship, right? Weren't they together for a couple of years? Like, so she says he assaulted me, and then and then we were together 2 or 3 years or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. But once again, Shannon he keeps his private life private, and he's, a single man. So like I said, this all kind of stemmed from, according to Shannon and his lawyers, it stemmed from the fact that she just like the rest of the world, heard that Instagram live and essentially got jealous. That's the picture that they're painting. Like she heard the live, he was with another woman, and she got jealous because these messages, like they're not like from 10 years ago. Like these messages that they're publishing, like the oldest one is from 2023, the most recent one is from 2025, like January of 2025. So this is not something that took place in the 90s or the early 2000s or even the 2010s. This all happened within the last 2 years, according to them.
Okay, so let me first of all, everybody, this is Jeff Lightsey Jr. Jeff is a great journalist and a smart guy, and you actually host a show in Louisville, Kentucky. What's the show called?
Yes, it's Victor Formation. Talk sports talk radio here in Louisville. I'm on about 3 days a week, and we're all over social media doing all kinds of stuff. So
okay, and you can follow Jeff at JLightsey7. And
yes.
everybody that's listening, I hope you'll go and check the brother out. He's super smart. JLightsey7. Somebody type that in the chat if you could, because I think we should support each other. Also, just a reminder to everybody: May 9th and 10th, we're having the Economic Elevation Summit in Miami. If you'd like to join us, just go to economicelevationsummit.com. The URL is right there on the screen. And also, I'll put some other information if you want to join us for our Money in the Morning financial class. We have a free class every single day on economic elevation, and you can participate for free if you want to get your money up. All right, so let me show you all. Let me just pull up on screen. Jeff, I found that document you were talking about, this thing where apparently there's all this stuff that the attorneys are saying, or somebody released a statement. And Lanny Davis, here's let's see here. Let me know if y'all can see this. I'll just read what's here. I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're fucking me. Okay, Gabriella Zuniga. She got her freak on full display. I know you missed this big juicy ass, $25K for each cheek. Why is she selling it? You don't sell it to somebody you're giving it away to for free. So
but look at the timestamp. That's New Year's Day 2025. Like that's not 10 years ago. That's 3 months ago.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. So let's keep going here. The lawsuit filed by Gabriella Zuniga and orchestrated by her attorney, Tony Busby, is a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. It is filed with lies, distortions, and misrepresentations, and it will not succeed in her effort to extract a large financial settlement. Ms. Zuniga presented Mr. Sharpe with a secretly recorded video of a consensual sexual encounter. So apparently she secretly recorded them sleeping together. We believe the video has been heavily edited and taken entirely out of context, crafted to falsely portray a consensual act as non-consensual. Interesting. Ms. Zuniga, so she secretly recorded herself being allegedly assaulted and edited the video. That's interesting. Ms. Zuniga has refused to provide a copy of the full unedited version of the recording to Mr. Sharpe's legal team. To set the record straight, we are releasing several of Ms. Zuniga's own explicit text messages to Mr. Sharpe that clearly indicate the nature of their relationship was consensual and sexual in nature, and in many cases inflated by her with specific and graphic requests. Contrary to the allegations she makes in her lawsuit, consensual sex continued until January 2nd, 2025, the day after she asked for $25,000 per cheek. As quoted above from her text message to Mr. Sharpe, there are other examples of text from Mrs. Zuniga, for example. So I'm gonna just stop right there for a minute because this is a lot. Here's my question, Jeff. This is the thing. I'm curious. Why does he got to waste his time with this nonsense? That I'm sorry. I know there might be people who still want to believe. This is where your politics went left in America. Does anybody remember? Give me a yes in the chat if y'all remember this. Remember about a decade ago when they literally, the Me Too movement literally had slogans like "Believe all women." Do you remember that, Jeff? You all don't remember "Believe all women"?
Absolutely.
And when I heard that, I said, so women are not capable of telling a lie. Is that have we gotten to the point where we believe women are these godlike creatures who are incapable of the same flaws that exist for many human beings? That a woman's accusation can just exist untarnished and unchallenged, and no matter how outrageous it is, that she can decide that she wants to get a piece of a man right when he's at his peak, accuse him of anything, and get a payday. I mean, I think that what I'm thinking is that this Hail Mary of a lawsuit by Tony Busby and this lady is really one of these things where it's like, let's pick a really big fat number. I bet you anything that they approached their attorneys in advance and blackmailed. They won't call it blackmail, but I believe it's blackmail. And what it is it's we're holding your reputation for ransom.
Yes.
If you don't give us that, look, we asking for 50 million. We come up with the biggest number. We pick the number, pull the number out our ass, and just throw it out there. And then so we ask for 50 million. But hey, you can make it go away for $500,000.
Yep.
Just write the check, 500,000, and then you don't have to even deal with this, because we know that in America you are a big black man, and that there are people who will believe anything you say about a black man. The evidence is everywhere. This has been going on since slavery. Shannon Sharpe and Jay-Z were fighting the attorneys and being very aggressive, and I applaud them for that. But we should understand and accept that if they had done this 50 years ago, they might get killed. 60 years ago, in the 1960s or the 1950s, you couldn't fight back. So so what's crazy to me, Jeff, is I think about the history of it, right? These two guys, they can fight. They got the money. There are people that will listen to them now. But what about, what if this had happened in 1945? You losing all your wealth. That's where a lot of black wealth went, was people just falsely accusing a black man of a crime. You got a little money, I'm gonna accuse you of something. They're gonna come hit you upside the head, lock you up, and take all your stuff. And then next thing you know, we have your wealth. What are your thoughts on any of that?
No, it's 100% correct. Like you said, someone like Shannon Sharpe has the financial means to fight against this and has already accumulated wealth from playing in the NFL, from being in media for the better part of a decade or over a decade. And so he's accumulated a certain status, and he's looked upon a certain way. But that's not the case for everyone, not even just in the 40s and 50s, even in 2025. Like, if Shannon Sharpe was just getting started, like, this would ruin him, or it could potentially ruin him. Like, but the fact that he's been in public figure for so long is kind of working in his favor. And the fact that he is being aggressive and pushing back on this, like, that's working in his favor. And I hate to say it, I think having someone like a Donald Trump in office too helps him too. Because the one thing about the Donald Trump being in office is that it seems as if America has definitely went 180 from the Me Too movement, meaning, like, the Me Too movement took a lot of people out, but then it also, you come back to find out, well, dang, they did lie about this, and dang, this money did actually go towards this, and and like you start piecing stuff together, like, was that as great as we actually made it out to be? And so having someone like a Trump, whether you love him, hate him, or indifferent, push back on a lot of, like, foolishness and be convicted of felonies and still make it to the White House, I think that has changed the psyche of America. Like, Americans are a little less quick to judge maybe than we were just a few short years ago. Because, like you said, this comes out in 2020, he's done. Like, he's getting dropped from every endorsement that he has, every partner that he works with. He's done before anything, just based off the allegation. And now in 2025, at least for Shannon Sharpe, this still might not be the case for the average black man, but at least for Shannon Sharpe, he has a fighting chance, because we've seen, like, the psyche of America's shift, I think, just ever so slightly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that what has to be accepted when you look at the politics of this is very political. In case people don't know, it's economic, it's political, it's racial, it's all these things. The politics of it, that's an unfortunate truth that I think liberals are going to have to confront, is the Me Too movement was one of the things that put Trump in office.
Yes.
It was the unfairness. It did become, someone used the word witch hunt. It did become a witch hunt. It got to the point where anytime, like literally, it got to the point around 2018-ish where just being a male was toxic by definition. You're flawed, toxic, screwed up. Then nobody want to hear that stuff, because there's good people out here that would never harm a woman, that would never do nothing wrong to nobody, and you're just throwing out accusations, and people just believe it because you are a wealthy or a powerful black man. And I think that that's obviously wrong. And here's the thing to me, Jeff, that, number one, I think Sharpe, if he has the time to sue her, I think she should definitely be sued. But then secondly, I don't even think he should even have to deal with this until it gets to the point where there's actual evidence and it's been taken through a grand jury. Like, I just think we got to get rid of this whole shit show of people just accusing people of anything and people believe in it. Like, I think that there are too many people, particularly bad women, not all women, bad women who ruin things for bad. The bad women ruin it for good women because there are
Yeah.
good women that go through real shit with men and they don't
Yes.
get heard because you've got the drug addict, the prostitute, the liar who says, "Oh wait, I'm a woman. I'm a woman too. Everyone will believe me because I'm a woman." I think that they should just change the law. I think the law should be that if you have an accusation against a man for whatever, number one, if it's a criminal accusation, there should be criminal charges first before you start
Absolutely.
chasing the money. Right? That's the first thing. Second of all, it should be kept under seal until a grand jury determines that there's enough evidence to bring it to trial or to allow the information to be released, or maybe until a conviction or whatever it is. But you can't just say, "Hey, you did this to me in 1992," and then put take somebody's life work and destroy that. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if men had that same power? Like I could find an old girlfriend I dated back in, in back 25 years before you were born, and I could just go out publicly and say, "Look, let me tell you what she did to me in 1998." And have everybody believe me, and then say, "Yeah, I had to go to therapy and I haven't been able to move on," and all that. People would laugh at me. That would be ridiculous, right? So I kind of think that this nonsense, I feel bad for Shannon on this because here you just hit the highest of heights. I mean, you're doing great, man. This guy, $100 million deal. I mean, he deserves it. I still have no idea how him and Chad were able to get those crazy numbers, but when you mentioned the Cowherd Network, that makes sense. So they're probably backed by a corporation even bigger than him, right?
Mm-hmm.
That drives all that traffic. That's what that's about. That's not because it ain't like they're just throwing out YouTube videos and getting those numbers. That's really hard to do. But still, though, either way, I respect it. I mean, he deserves all that money.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And to your point, like that's the it in like you said, the false allegations, the false accusations in bozos like Tony Busby does make it hard for real victims. Like that's the problem in all of this is that I don't now all of this is still alleged. Like we don't know. There could be evidence very damaging against Shannon Sharpe that comes out, then maybe we're singing a different tone. But from the evidence that's been presented, it doesn't look like anything happened. All right. Like from what they brought out and what he brought out, it looks like everything was consensual. But like you said, they threw out 50 million, they would have settled for 2 or settled for 3, or
right.
maybe less than that. But it just sounds like they're looking for a big payday, especially when you come straight for the civil suit and not the criminal charges. Because if something happened to you, something happens to me, I want somebody going to jail for it, right? Not just give me a payday to shut me up. No, I need something criminal to happen if something happens like that. But all at the same time, you're making it more difficult for real victims, and I think that is part of the problem because there's been so many false allegations recently, right? Like there's been a lot of whether it was Marcellus Wiley, obviously there's so many false allegations and so many false accusations that people are almost becoming numb to it because you're like, yeah, is this a real accusation or is this something that's fabricated, made up? And you're starting to see the tide shift in people almost becoming numb to the fact that someone is crying rape because of too many cases that look like this. And that to me is a problem.
I agree 100%. And I think that while the Me Too movement may have been well intended, I think that what it did was it did create an environment where you got so many people out here crying wolf that ain't nobody listening to nobody, ain't nobody listening to nothing. And I don't like that at all. Because I think that there are a lot of victims that don't really get heard, and that's unfortunate. Well, by the way, everybody, you're listening to Jeff Lightsey Jr., and we are talking about these allegations against Shannon Sharpe and what's going on with that. If you could, please take a moment and hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, I want to mention that you can follow Jeff on all platforms at jlightsey7. So it's right there on the screen. So I hope you'll follow this brother. He's really great. He's great at what he does, and he deserves our support. Jeff is one of the guys that's really on top of HBCU sports and shines a heavy light on our HBCUs. We have to support our own institutions. And Shannon went to an HBCU, right? Is that right?
He did. Savannah State.
Yeah, Savannah State. So I'm sure they're very proud of him as well. And also, everybody, in case you don't know, every morning we get together and we do economics. The class is free. If you text the word morning to the number 87948, I'll send you a text message and an invitation So if you'd like to join us for free, just text morning to the number 87948, and I will teach you all that you need to know about your economics and money and black wealth, because this is important. This is a wealth related conversation. So speaking on the wealth side of this, Jeff, one of the things that I think guys should understand as well, and mothers should tell their sons, is that when you are a black man who has acquired some wealth, you have to protect your wealth by any means necessary. And the way you protect your wealth, it isn't just about diversifying your portfolio or putting money in your 401k or making sure you don't live above your means. It goes deeper than that. It goes down to who your friends are, what kind of women you let in your life, what kind of situations you put yourself into. I've seen guys, you and I probably know a million stories about great athletes who got shot because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or ended up in prison because they got involved with the wrong situation, or maybe were taken down by something involving a woman. And not that this makes women evil or anything like that, but I've seen guys go broke from divorces. I've seen guys go broke from having multiple babies mamas. I think, don't Anthony Edwards, the basketball player, don't he got about 5-6 babies mamas or something? Ain't
Yeah,
that
he's
right?
got a lot going on. Yeah, he's got a lot going on in his personal life. It is going to cost him a whole bunch of money.
Yeah. Oh, he'll be paying millions. He'll probably give 50 million, to women, and that's why women like Brittany Renner, is that her name? Brittany Renner?
Brittany Renner.
Yeah, Brittany Renner are so interesting because on one hand, she was an absolute demon. She would do those videos and she would just say, if you want to make a bunch of money, just get pregnant by an athlete. They're dumb. They don't even wear condoms. Right. She did that video. But then I was sitting there thinking, well, that's kind of nasty, because that means you ain't wearing condoms. You having sex with these nasty ass people. So you're diseased, most likely, I'm sure. But still, though, one thing I appreciate about Brittany Renner, though, was that she was kind of able to expose the process, expose the game. On one hand, we have this false narrative that women are always these innocent little victims and that a woman can never hurt anybody, right? But then on the other hand, Brittany exposes, like, yeah, if you a sucker, if you out here just ready to chase a big button, a smile, and get with any girl, any pretty girl that smiles at you, you're gonna get took. They're gonna shake you down. Somebody's gonna get you. It may not be everybody, but somebody. You only need one bad one to ruin your life. And they can get you with the money part, get the pregnant with the baby. She said something about to Shannon about 25,000 a cheek. You put this big back baby in me and all this other stuff. So she's thinking about the child support. And then it's like, okay, so maybe Shannon had a conversation. Look, how Shannon talk. He got that little list. Look, I can't be with you no more. I got to go. I got to leave. Right. So he's trying to leave the relationship, and she's like, oh no, you're not going anywhere, because now I've got leverage on you. Right. I can accuse you of things. I've got videotape of stuff, whatever. And it becomes this messy situation. Right. So even if Shannon wins, it's still messy. And one of the things about accusations for a black man is that sometimes if you just get accused, there are people that won't deal with you just because they don't know what happened. I had a friend that got falsely accused of assault by a woman that was begging to sleep with him. But when he didn't call her back, she then flipped it and started telling everybody that he did this terrible thing. And he said it was terrible because all my business partners, a lot of those people knew, she was reaching out to them and saying, he assaulted me, he did this and he did that. And because they weren't sure, they were just like, well, we're not going to deal with you no more because you might be a rapist. And this is the type of stigma that I think men have to be careful about. So let me ask you this, you can respond to anything I just said, but in terms of Shannon and the financial side of what he's got going on, what do you think the future looks like for him? I mean, do you think he's doing even more than what he's doing right now? Or because I see him and Stephen A getting these amazing deals. What do you see in that arena?
So the thing is Shannon could come from this unscathed. The thing that's working in his favor is that Tony Busby's kind of seen as a sleazeball, right? Like Jay-Z kind of exposed that part. Like the Tony Busby is a opportunist, right? Like if he sees an opportunity to make a quick buck, and especially attaching his name next to a big name celebrity, attaching his name next to Deshaun Watson, attaching his name next to P. Diddy, a Jay-Z, now a Shannon Sharpe. He is the guy that's like, hey, he's like the crash out in that kind of space. Like, I'm a crash out because you see Tony Busby next to these actual very successful people, then you almost look at us the same. But so that actually is working in Shannon's favor. But at the same time, though, once you are accused as an alleged whatever, right, to any kind of woman, to a certain person, maybe not everybody, but to a certain person, you will always be that. That's the disappointing part. So like Shannon will now forever in some certain people's minds, whether they talk on platforms or behind closed doors, he will always be seen as someone who did something to a woman that she didn't want to be done. Right? Like whether that's right or not is a different question. But in certain demographics, in certain aspect, like once that headline is out there, once that accusation is out there, for a lot of people, you can't come back from that. And who knows what that does to his businesses moving forward, or what that does to his businesses right now. Like, I don't know. I'm sure he's been on phone calls with his partners all day, whether it was him, his lawyers, whoever, because Shannon is in multiple ventures, like business ventures. He has his media company, he has a production company, he has his spirits brand, his alcohol brand. Like, there's a lot going on there. And for someone to be suing you, making a civil suit for $50 million, claiming that you sexually assaulted them or potentially raped them, and they have video of it, that can make a lot of people weary, because it's like, is the risk worth the investment? Meaning, we stick beside him now and it comes out that it's true, we look like the jerks, or do we cut bait now, even though it's just an accusation and potentially a false one, but we just don't want that stain on our reputation? That's what these companies now have to weigh.
Yeah, well, what this speaks to, and I don't know if you know, did you know I wrote a book 20 years ago called "What If George Bush Were a Black Man"?
Yeah, I had it. I have that book. We had it at our house. You dropped it off, hand delivered it to us.
Oh wow, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Way back in 2004? 2004.
Yeah, it was it was a long time, over 20 years ago. And part of the premise of the book was the inherent risk that comes with just being a black man. And I wasn't just thinking about the stuff that a lot of people think. A lot of people think about things like police shootings and all that, and all that's valid for sure. But I can't relate to that as much, because I know black men who've been killed, and not one of them was killed by a white person. Every black man I know that got killed by another brother. Let's just to be honest with you. But it doesn't mean that there aren't other threats out there. But what I was thinking about back then was just the inherent risk that comes with being a black man, and the risk that others perceive in terms of being associated with a black man. Meaning this: if you do business with Shannon Sharpe, and there's some chance that an accusation is going to come up, and then people are going to, be talking about you and him in the same breath, as all this freaky stuff comes out about him, even consensually, having dog collar sex and choking women when he said, like some people, like, I don't even want to be nowhere near none of that. You know what I mean? Like I don't even want to be associated with that. And if you think about it like this too, in many cases, when you have these black men that become oversized in terms of their power and wealth, somebody makes some sort of an accusation, and because they know that their reputations are so fragile, like Tiger Woods. I still didn't understand. Tiger Woods cheated on his wife. That's what he did. And he was nasty with it. He slept with porn stars. That's disgusting. But I don't care about any of that. Like that to me, it's like, okay, Bill Clinton cheated on his wife. A lot of people did, right? What I didn't understand was when Tiger Woods' wife gets mad at him, and from what it appeared, takes that golf club upside his head to the point where he couldn't go in public for 2 or 3 weeks because he was trying to heal. I really felt like it was curious to me. I said, why is he the one apologizing? You were the one that was abused. She tried to kill you. She tried to put a golf club through your head.
Caused him to wreck his car. Caused him to wreck. Like he wrecked his vehicle that night. Right. She was busting out the windows and chasing him with a golf club. Yeah. Yeah.
And if you were to reverse the gender, not even the race, just reverse the gender. But if you did the gender and the race reverse, where Tiger basically finds out that she's sleeping with sailors and the pool boy and whatever. So let's say she's out there being nasty, and he gets mad and decides to take a golf club through her windshield and hit her in the face. Will she be apologizing publicly, or would he be the one apologizing? He'd be going to jail. Yeah. He'd be in prison. And what's interesting is that these double standards are so ingrained in our minds that we don't even consider. People don't even think about that. Like they just assume Tiger was supposed to apologize. What you apologizing for? If you cheated on your wife, you want to apologize to her. That's between you and her. You didn't do anything, in my view, that makes you into some person that has to go publicly apologize. In fact, there was another example. I don't know if you remember this. This is probably when you were like in high school, but Terrell Owens, he was kind of a cocky athlete and he got a reputation for being like a bad guy. And I remember him doing like an apology tour, like where he did a whole press conference where he was like, look it up, Google it. Where he's like,
I remember T.O.
yeah, and I remember just sitting there thinking, like, what are you apologizing? What did he do? Did he commit a crime? Did he hurt somebody? No, he did none of that. They're just like, you're a bad Negro, so you need to apologize. Get on your knees, boy. You know, so I almost feel like if you think about it, whether you're talking about Tiger Woods, Bill Cosby, or someone else, it's almost
to add to it, Doc. Just to add to it, someone added in the chat. Like this happened to Michael Irvin around the Super Bowl. Remember they took him off the Super Bowl because there was this alleged encounter, and then the video came out, right? Like everybody dropped him. Everybody dropped him. Not this past Super Bowl, the Super Bowl before. NFL Network. Nobody wanted nothing, no parts of Mike. And then the video came out of his encounter with said lady, and it literally shows him shaking her hand, because it was in a hotel lobby. Because everything in the hotel lobby is recorded. That just to add to your point that like this whole believe everything, believe all women, it's just ridiculous.
It's crazy, and what it kind of really does is like people just sort of know if you're a black male, they can take advantage of that. I've even seen black women do that to black men. Like if I like sometimes, and you've literally seen scenarios where the man was actually
Seals did it to Myron Roll.
Say it again?
Amanda Seals did it to Myron Roll, the Rhodes Scholar surgeon who left the NFL to go be a surgeon. And this lady had the nerve to falsely accuse him, almost ruined his life. And then just was like, yeah, I lied. So what? I'm like, what do you mean? So what? Like, and that's a black woman. Yes. To your point.
Right. Yeah. So all that stuff, man. I mean, you know, I had my little brush with that, you know, a couple of times where I had somebody that asked me for money, and when I said no, I don't want to give you any money, they did the same thing. They went on this like Boyce is a terrible person thing, and in fact there was one case, there was a lawsuit, and I remember feeling it's very hurtful because you're like, man, like what can I do? You can't defend yourself. You can't convince the world that you didn't do these things. And then I think that for the accused, it becomes a really high bar to jump, because then you have to almost prove that you were a perfect person, that you never did anything wrong. And very few people can say that I never did anything in my life that could be misinterpreted or hurt somebody's feelings or made somebody mad. And so black men almost are sort of expected to have to live to this angelic standard. And I'm gonna tell you what, when that incident occurred, I was so traumatized that I literally had women that worked for me that protected me from women to keep them from even being around me. Because my conclusion became, okay, if you never have a conversation with me, then you don't have a Boyce Watkins story to even tell. And that is, and that's unfortunate, because what it causes you to do is it makes you not really trust new people. You're like, no, I don't. What do you want? What is your objective here? No, man, but put that back in. You know, no, cover yourself up. Stop that. No, get out of my room. You know, stuff like that, right? Because you don't know what people's agendas are. And I think it's two things, right? It's unfair, right? We know it's unfair. It's racist. It's wrong. But also, I think it's a warning. I don't think young men get warned about that enough. I've seen guys that maybe have a good job at a corporation and all the girls like them. They want to sleep with them. So they start doing what men do, right? You're getting these opportunities, you're getting with these girls, but they don't understand like what happens when Becky goes to HR because she's mad that she found out you sleeping with Sarah. So now she's on the warpath to destroy you, and she's got a lot of leverage on you. Last point I'll make on this, and I want you to talk because I've been talking too much. The other day I spoke to Ezekiel Elliott's dad. He's a good brother. And I remember, and also the other thing we have in common is that I went to Ohio State like Zeke did, and I had the misfortune of being a Cowboys fan for way too long. And so anyway, I remember with Zeke, same thing happened to him. He was in college, and there was some white chick that was mad that he wouldn't let her into the party. I guess they used to mess around or whatever. And this girl was yelling like, hey, you're a black man. I can accuse you of anything, and I can destroy your whole career. She literally said that. And she did. She accused him of some stuff that he didn't do. Wasn't no evidence. I don't know if you remember. And I think the NFL like suspended him off that. And there was no evidence.
Yeah,
I mean, this is crazy.
Zero evidence.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. So this stuff kind of makes me mad. What are your thoughts, Jeff?
Oh, and that to me, like this can happen to anybody, and it can happen in any scenario. It's a lot less likely to happen though when you're only dealing with one person. That that's why I think that the power, like, there's multiple benefits of being married and having a wife as opposed to just sleeping around with everybody. But I think this is one of them. When you have your wife that you've built or building with and continue to grow with, like, not to say there's stuff that's still going to happen, but it makes scenarios like this less likely when you're with one person and you're building with said person and you're staying out of the way. You're just not subjugated to have this happen to you because you're not outside in the streets, right? You're not, Shannon's age, 50, 55 years old, trying to act like you're still the young 25-year-old football player you were for the Broncos in the 90s, right? Like, so when you're still getting around at 55 like you were at 25, you open, especially when you're like, even as an NFL player, Shannon's way richer now than he was when he was winning Super Bowls. Like, he just is, because he's built something, and so you have even more to lose. Then he's richer and he's more famous than he was when he was winning Super Bowls. He was in the Hall of Fame in the NFL. He's a really good football player, but he's richer and more famous now because of his media career, and so he has even more to lose than he did when he was probably what he thought in the prime of his life. And so the whole sleeping around and getting around and conquering as many women as possible has its downfalls, and this is part of it.
Well, I'll tell you what. And by the way, before I move on, I want everybody to know I'm talking to Jeff Lightsey Jr. and we're talking about this whole thing with Shannon Sharpe. Now, Jeff Lightsey Jr. is the host of Victory Formation Sports, which is a radio show in Louisville, Kentucky. What's that channel again that you're on, Jeff?
93.9 The Ville.
93.9 The Ville.
And it's best to find me all online. I post all my stuff online. That's where the best to find me. So Twitter and TikTok and everywhere, YouTube, I'm online mostly.
All right, perfect. So everybody should go follow Jeff. Make sure you follow him. And also, if you want to join us and study stock options, feel free to apply. We got a coin. We have a coin cohort coming up, and you can go to drboycecoin.com. Coin stands for Certified Options Investing Network. I have a PhD in finance. I'd love to help you with that. So feel free to join us. You're going to have a lot of fun. Now, last point in terms of Shannon Sharpe, it's interesting. You were talking about just the benefit of a man sort of having a wife and, one situation he's dealing with. What's interesting about that, I want to add some color and context to that, is I think it even though I agree with you, obviously I'm living that, right? And my wife is my protector too. She can spot crazy stuff from a mile away. And so a good Black woman will protect you. But that's under the assumption that you're marrying somebody who has a certain type of character about her, right? Like, I kind of feel like because we've seen a lot of men get ruined by divorce too. You divorce the wrong type of person who doesn't. And now I get it. If your man done beat up on you and really done horrible things to you, I get that. But there's a type of class and dignity that a person should have to know not just how to get together, but also how to break up in a way that minimizes the damage. It's almost like if you demolish a building, when they tear the building down, they have to spend a lot of time planning how they demolish the building. If they just blow it up and the parts just fly everywhere, people are going to get hurt. But they do controlled demolitions, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that in your relationship, if you're picking somebody, you should pick somebody that knows how to do a controlled demolition. Somebody who ain't going to act an ass, decide that because y'all not together, they can go tell all your secrets to the world and act a fool. Like, and I can tell you, when I pick my wife, I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't Shannon Sharpe attractive, but there are a lot of women that like smart men, and I have a little bit of money and a little bit of internet fame. So there were people I met, and there was one lady I met that was really pretty, and I was really interested in her. But the smartest thing I did was I took my time before I approached her. I just said, I'm gonna follow her on social media, just see what she's all about. And I saw her just do something that was unbelievable, where she just blasted her ex-husband's business all on the internet. And that's when I said, okay, I can't deal with you. I can't deal with somebody who is, because I don't kiss and tell. You will never know anything about anybody I ever slept with in my whole entire life, because that's between me and that woman. That's not for public consumption. So when you have these people where there's a whole industry built around people saying, I slept with him, I slept with this person, that person, No, I don't want to. I don't. I would. I never. I was not interested in spending time with anybody who somehow wants to profit off the fact that they were with you, and that's what it is.
Mhm,
When she up here talking about 25,000 a cheek and all that, I would have said, man, why are you dealing with a woman that's even talking that way? Because
mhm,
if you in that relationship, she's gonna try to destroy you because you are her cash cow. So,
mhm,
my wife, I love my wife, but I observed her for a long period of time before I chose to connect to her because I wasn't just concerned with how you gonna treat me when we getting along. I said, well, how would you treat me if I was your worst enemy? You got to watch how people treat their worst enemy because if somebody's like, I love you, I love you, I love you, but they're ready to chop off their enemies' heads and kill them and burn the cat and all that. That's a dangerous person because there's
mhm,
a thin line between love and hate. It's all driven by passion. So the same person who will go to extremes to kiss you will also go to extremes to kill you. So you have to just plan all that out so I would say to your point, you're right though. I think when you see the goofiness that right. I don't know if did you see Kevin Gates I don't know if he's a
yeah,
rapper, singer, or whatever.
yeah,
That
he's a rapper,
dumb
yeah,
shit he said about LeBron. I mean, what he said
yeah,
was ignorant little boy shit, right? Like we get to the point where we are attracted to dysfunction. We like broken families. We like all the horrible things that people think come with being black. So you look at a man like LeBron, who's very smart about choosing a good wife. He's got a great legacy. He's got all those kids. They all love each other. I mean, it's a beautiful family. And you've got black men speaking against that. And I think it's important for intelligent men to speak against that little boy behavior because, as far as I'm concerned, Kevin Gates is a kid. What are your
mhm.
thoughts?
No, you're 100% right, and I think it's just to add to your point. I also think too that you can't worry about everything that happens online. So I think Shannon also fell victim to trying to appease his online base, meaning there's a lot of people online because of the way Shannon dresses and because he's never been married. Uh, and because he was seen sitting courtside with his stylist, who was clearly a gay man, that Shannon was fighting these gay allegations. Right, is
Mhm.
like in the peak of his powers. He's got everything going right for him. The Cat Williams interview and nightcaps popping off and all this stuff. But there's this little inkling of a crowd that's saying, "Well, he's gay, he's gay, he's gay." Right,
Mhm.
like, and so I think this is just me. He did that Instagram live to prove those people wrong. Right, it could have been
Mhm.
an embarrassment ritual or whatever, but it was to prove to the people I'm not gay. This is a woman because you can't accidentally go live on Instagram. I mean, it's just impossible. It's too many buttons you have to press to actually go live on Instagram to accidentally do it. I'm sorry. As a person who's been live on Instagram multiple times, you can't go live on accident. You can't. I mean, you just can't because literally you have to press like 3 different buttons, and they
Right.
ask you, "Are you sure?" And yeah, so that's the thing. But I also think, in the same vein, he was outside with all these different women to once again negate this online rumor that he likes men, right? Like
Mhm.
these Freudian slips people say he does about like men and being with men and whatever. Like I think that like trying to conquer as many women as possible so they could go tell their friends to tell their friends to tell their friends that Shannon Sharpe ain't gay is
Mhm.
part of what led him to being in this ridiculous predicament in the first place.
I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I think it takes time to learn this. I mean, but I assume Shannon would know this. I mean, he's been famous for a long time. It took me a long time to
Not this
realize.
famous though. Like not
Say it
this
again?
because
No,
not
true.
this famous. Is as famous and as great as he was as a football player, one that was most of his damage was done in the 90s. And two, football players just naturally aren't the most famous athletes because they play with a helmet, right? They play a
Mm,
violent sport that most women don't watch, and they play with a helmet on.
mm,
So you're not as accessible as a Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James because it's a lot less violent of a sport and everybody sees your face, right? The
mm,
football players don't really get the deals unless you're a quarterback or wide receiver. Shannon played tight end in the 90s where they mostly ran the ball. Now it's a little different now because they throw the ball a lot more, and Travis Kelsey dates Taylor Swift and stuff. So football players a lot more than they were in the 90s, but Shannon played in the 90s. But he's a lot more famous now from being a media personality and from having these very, very successful media companies than he ever was during his Pro Football Hall of Fame career. And so I think that's the biggest difference. And the rise of the internet. Like Shannon, he might have been relatively famous in the 90s or even the early 2000s, But there was no Twitter in 1998 when he was winning his first Super Bowl. There was no Facebook. There was no TikTok. There was none of these things. When he's at the peak of his media powers, all of these things are full go. And I think he is trying to find his footing in a space where people call him gay and different things like that.
I think it's a good point. Yeah. I learned over time you can't you have to learn to ignore what people say on the internet. In fact, when when other men start attacking you en masse, that usually means that there's some element of jealousy there. Like like that one brother with all the muscles that did that goofy face routine or whatever, he puts the banana peel in his
Ashton
face.
Hall. Yeah, Ashton Hall.
Yeah. But I mean, but but if you ask most guys, would you want to be where he's at? Most guys would probably want that, 10 million followers and all that stuff. I thought the routine was funny, but it's like, okay, he's found his niche, he's found his path, and he's doing well with that. And it took me a long time to learn that. And so what I saw was when I would be doing really well, you would have a chorus of men that would just find anything to, like that. When I got married, they were making up stuff about my wedding that wasn't even true, like stuff that was just it was like shocking to see it. But so Shannon just needs to stand up there and just keep being successful, man. I'm happy for him. I think he's doing fine. I admit I can't watch any Club Shay Shay interviews. I watched like 2 minutes of one, or something. But these long interviews with just somebody talking just because they're famous. I think I'd rather spend my time watching a long video where I'm learning something. Like today, I spent the hour watching a video on artificial intelligence. And then before that, I was watching an hour-long video of about the stock market and the Trump tariffs and what's like. That's just, this other stuff. Like, why am I gonna sit and listen to you just because you're a celebrity? Like, I mean, maybe I'll have somebody send me
a lot of the interviews he did right after Cat were very like people trying to respond like, well, this is my version of what Cat Williams, and everybody was trying to have their Cat Williams moment. I don't really watch Club Shay Shay interviews either unless I find the person interesting. Like I watched both he did with Marlon and Damon Wayans because I think they have really cool, interesting stories, because nobody, and they're the closest I'm ever going to get to hearing Keenan Ivory Wayans do an interview, because he stays out of the public space. And so like I watch those because I'm just like, I marvel at someone like Keenan Wayans, who literally put his entire family on, and just the way that they revere their older brother. This isn't like their dad. This is their brother, but they talk about him like he saved them and he saved their family. And so I watch those two, but outside of that, I don't really watch Club Shay Shay interviews as well.
Well, I know I don't either. And I don't watch the nightcap thing either. It's cool. I mean, but it's not my thing. I'm happy for him, but I'm not interested. Yeah, I kind of feel like the internet is this tool where you can either use it to make yourself better, or you can use it to become an entertainment zombie and have them, waste your life and all your energy while Mark Zuckerberg's getting rich because he's selling your attention. Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jeff, I want to say thank you, man, for coming in. Everybody, this is Jeff Lightsey Jr. He's the host of Victory Formation sports show in Louisville, Kentucky, and the channel is, what is it again, Jeff?
93.9
The Ville, 93.9 The Ville. And follow him. Everybody go follow him. He's a J Lightsey 7. It's right there on the screen, J Lightsey 7. So follow him on Instagram, Twitter, and all that. We got to support our quality Black journalists, and Jeff is one of them. And also, I want everybody to know that that tomorrow we're going to meet for economic elevation class. So we do this every morning at 10 a.m. 7 days a week. So Jeff, you're invited too. And come on in.
Appreciate
if you want to get better in your finances, your economics, join us. And it doesn't cost a nickel. I just am determined to close this racial wealth gap, because it doesn't have to exist. Financial illiteracy does not have to exist for anyone, anywhere. And I would love to support you in that goal. So drboyceelevate.com is where you can go to sign up. And we'll see you guys. Have a great night. And thanks again, Jeff, man. You take care of yourself, brother.
Thank you as always, Doc. Appreciate it.
All right.